In this lesson, we'll begin to refine the line work for our second character. Alright, so in the previous lesson we finished sketching out our second character here based on an initial shape. Now, if we take a look at our initial shape, we had that hidden here. We've got that kind of, you can see the similarities between the character and how that evolved from this shape. Now, I did touch this up a little bit between lessons just to refine some of these areas that I had doubts about. Maybe I spent a little more time working on the eyes, making those look a little bit better, flushing out the fruit bowl on her head, and maybe grounding her a little bit just by quickly sketching in sort of some shoulders and the neck of a shirt here. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and begin refining this line work using the same technique as we did with the first character. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to a black hard-edged brush, and I'm going to go ahead and work at 100% opacity. I'm also going to go ahead and switch over to my refined layer here under this character 2 folder. That way we can work on a new layer here. And I'm going to go ahead and begin flushing out these lines here within our character. So, I'm just going to pick an area. It doesn't really matter where we pick. I'm going to go ahead and choose maybe the fruit basket. Maybe we come in and start bringing out the shape of some of these grapes here. I went a little overboard with the grapes, but you know what? That's okay. The grapes are kind of, in my opinion, the filler of this basket. It's what spills over the edges of the basket. It makes it feel more than full. So we'll come in here and continue to draw these just like so. Now these are a lot of little bitty curved lines, so I'm not going to worry about necessarily that each one's perfect. We're going to fill these in with color later on, so we just don't want anything that doesn't make sense. Alright, so this is a fairly quick process for these grapes. Maybe we come in here and go ahead and hit some of the lines for this first banana here. We can rotate the canvas and get a better angle on it if we need to. Now, some of these fruit items, depending on the coloring technique you plan on using for your character, maybe you don't need to ink every single item. Maybe you just ink it long enough to add color to it, and then you get rid of the inked areas. So again, we're just going to go ahead and put a simple outline around pretty much everything, making sure we don't have any little overhangs like that, just for the purpose of this lesson. So we can prepare this line work for color. And let's see, let's go ahead and attack this pineapple here for just a moment. We'll just come in and bring in some of these nice lines right in here. We could always thicken some of these lines up, like I mentioned in the previous, with the previous character, if we wanted to imply areas of value. So maybe depending on where the light source is, the edge of whatever shape we're drawing furthest from the light source gets a thicker line, implying that there's a shadow there. So that looks pretty good. Let's come in here and maybe do the body of our pineapple next. Alright, so we've got these little grooves in the pineapple. This is a very stylized pineapple. A pineapple is a pretty detailed little fruit. So I've got here some kind of rows and columns to simulate some of the segmentation on a pineapple. So maybe we just want to come in here and draw in some of these lines kind of roughly, picking up on some of these vertical and horizontal lines for the pineapple. Alright, so that's looking pretty good here. Let's go ahead and continue on here. Now there's a lot more fruit in this basket. I'm going to go ahead and bounce to a different area here. Let's go ahead and connect the bowl to her head here with some of these lines for the sides. Come in here and draw this line first right here. And let's go and do that opposite side as well. Alright, so we've got one large curve here along the top side of our bowl, and this is going to be a nice curved line that we probably want to try and do with one or two strokes. So moving in a nice broad stroke at the elbow. Let's go ahead and do that much of it. Let's go ahead and erase a little bit there, and then we'll come in and hit this second half. We can always clean up this transition area right here where those two lines meet. So it appears to be one nice long curve. Alright, so we got lots of details here. Let's go ahead and rotate back around and start working on our character's face just a little bit. Now, I want to flush out some of these nice lines in the lips that we started here. Now, she's got rather boxy lips, and I think that really adds to the attitude. Now, notice that even though they're fairly boxy and stylized, they're still composed of curved lines. We're not using straight lines at all here. They're just slightly less curved. So we're going to kind of come in here, finish doing these lips. Let's go ahead and do this little piece right here. We'll come in and hit this top edge right here. And maybe we go ahead and give her a little bit of a cheek there as well. Sort of like that. So let's come up here now and start working our way around her cheek. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to hit this nice curved line right here. Let's go ahead and follow that up to her bowl on her head here. And let's go ahead and attack this chin next. Maybe she's got sort of a dimple right here in the chin. And we'll just keep working our way around this character's face. Now, again, I'm not really concerned with adding too much thick and thin to my lines at this point. I may come back in and do a little bit of that before we add color to this character. But for the most part, we're really focusing in on just really creating an outline of our character here. So let's come in and do her glasses next. Alright, so that looks pretty good. We'll come in and hit this other lens. Now, it's become obvious to me that one thing that got left out when we were doing the pencil drawings was maybe the piece that comes back and wraps around the ear, that part of the glasses. So I may come in and add that next. Maybe we come in and just pull that up and over her ear. If we're comfortable with the position of the ear, maybe we'll go ahead and just do that now. Just like so. Pull in some lines there at the back of the ear. You know, I'm looking at this eyepiece right here, or this piece that connects the lenses to the ear, and I'm not so happy with that. So let me go ahead and erase that, and I'm going to work on the eyes first here. Let's go ahead and get those solidified and in place, and then we'll come back in and add that line if we need it. So I'm going to come in and do the eyes now. So she's got these nice expressive eyes. We're going to just kind of work our way around these. Now, I want to start the eyelids a little lower down just so we can get a little more attitude. I think that by starting them a little lower down, it's going to portray a little more attitude in the eyes and maybe make it feel like she has more of a scowl or a glare on her face. So just come in here, add in some eyelashes. And let's go ahead and work on the pupil in that center area of the eye here. So we'll just come in, make sure that's a nice clean circle. And let's go ahead and do the centerpiece here as well. Just go ahead and black that in for right now, making sure that we can get a good idea of what that eye is going to look like. Alright, so let's go ahead and do our eyebrows next. So the eyebrows really contribute a lot towards the attitude or the expression that's on a character's face. So this one, these are swooping really high, but they start fairly low. And, you know, in looking at this eyebrow, maybe it actually is a little bit too far to the right. Maybe it's going to actually start right around here. And maybe we don't actually need it to come down quite that far. Alright. So let's go ahead and work on this other eye here. We'll just kind of come down and mimic the lines in that other eye. Remember, this is a really skewed perspective on this eye, so we're going to kind of come in and really let that eye sort of form on the opposite side of that bridge of the nose. Alright, that's looking pretty good. May come in and redraw that ellipse, make sure it's nice and round. And let's fill that in. We'll just add in some eyelashes here, give her a little bit of attitude on that other eye. Okay, that looks pretty good. We've kind of avoided her nose here. Let's go ahead and bridge the gap between these two lenses in her glasses. And really bring that nose out. Focusing on getting that nostril just right with the perspective that we're working on here. Alright, you notice I've added a couple of hoop earrings here, which I think really kind of goes with the character that we're drawing. So let's go ahead and add these lines in. Again, curved lines here. There's nothing but curved lines for the most part with this character, really adding to the softness of the female form. Alright, we've got another one tucked in right here. Might as well hit that while we're working on the earrings. Alright, now we got a nice line here. She's got some nice skin folds here underneath on her neck. I'll just kind of come in and hit those really fast here. Alright, now we've got this hair piece back here that was kind of strange. We had that appendage on our initial shape, and we're kind of looking for something to do with that, to figure out a hairstyle that we might be able to use. And we settled on this sort of a curl or a curler right here that her hair is wrapped around, and I'm going to go ahead and draw that in here now. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Now we've got some pretty shaky details down here around her shirt collar, and I may come in and work those out now. Let's just kind of refine that, figure out exactly how this collar is going to lay. And I may come in and refine these a little bit between lessons and just get these looking exactly the way that I want them to. So let's come in and make sure we get nice confident lines here. You can see here how this line's kind of shaky. I may redraw that here. Excuse me. We'll just pull that line in just like so. Pull in another line here. Sometimes when I'm doing this process and I'm developing a character based on initial shapes, a lot of times I'll actually copy the shape over and do a couple of different characters with the same shape. Maybe I'm seeing a couple of things with one shape that maybe a couple different directions that it could go. So don't be afraid to copy a shape if you see more than one direction that you can go with that. So we'll just come in here, add one more shoulder. Rotate that around, get a nice angle on that. Alright, so there's a lot of details here in this character that we haven't really touched yet, and a lot of details here, and a few more than the fruit, and I'll probably go ahead and finish those in between lessons here. Really sort of polish this character off and get it ready for color. So in the next lesson we'll pick up where we're leaving off here, and we'll start working on developing our third character based on our third shape here.